coming on. Now to our weekly discussion. When it comes to getting new customers, most small to medium-sized businesses compete only in the Australian market. But with the growth of the NBN and faster broadband, increasing numbers of companies are now staying local but are selling globally. Now, one of those businesses is the health snack company Slim Secrets. For the last 18 months, they've been using the internet to sell their products into China. So, how did they do it? And what are the challenges of taking the e-commerce route overseas? Well, joining me to discuss that is Jamie Thurin. He's the Director of International Sales for Slim Secrets. Jamie, thanks for being with us. I'd like to start by asking you, for viewers who aren't familiar with Slim Secrets, what does your company do and how long have you been operating?
Sure, John. So Slim Secrets has been operating since 2005, so for 12 years or so now. Our brand, we offer a range of nutritionally balanced health snacks, which include protein bars, cookies, shakes, puddings, protein balls. And all of our products are designed as healthy snacks between meals, for busy people on the go, before gym, after gym, and really for anyone looking at a healthy alternative that's still indulgent.
Now, you've successfully taken your business into China. What led to that decision?
Look, there's been many factors that have led to that decision. Initially, it was through some early sales that we had with a third-party trader from Australia, or Chinese third-party traders, and we had really, really good traction with our brand early on. And from there, it led us to heading to to China for Australia Week in 2016. And when we were there, we really quickly learned that Australian products, Australian health products, health food products, really were seen to be clean and green, really seen to be a much safer options for the Chinese consumer. So, with that in mind, and with also the fact that there was nothing like, what our products are in China, we really saw a huge opportunity that was doing business in China.
Now, you've been very successful in China, but what's been the biggest challenge that you've had in selling in China? Well, what issues have you come across?
There's been many challenges. I think some of the obvious ones, besides language and culture and the regulatory changes. But I think for us, one of the biggest challenges we've found is not only are we trying to develop a new brand in a new market, but we're also trying to develop a new category. Healthy snacking, protein-based products. It's not something that the Chinese consumer is very familiar with. So for us, it's really kind of a huge challenge to educate the customer, to create that brand awareness, and to really, educate them as to what healthy snacking is about.
You mentioned language and culture there. What if you can't speak Chinese? What if you're not familiar with the culture? How can a business watching now overcome those kind of issues?
It's difficult. I mean, I don't speak Mandarin. I can't read Mandarin. My Japanese doesn't help. So I think it's really important to have people over there on the ground who speak the language, who understand, what the cultural differences are. There's the obvious ones like handing over a business card, but then there's also, bigger cultural differences like negotiating contracts and really, challenging business, situations that can present. So, the Chinese language is something that's difficult, something that if you don't really have anyone in your team that can speak Chinese, it can make a difference. But if you do have someone, or you can get someone involved on the ground who speaks the language, it definitely helps.
Have you come across any regulatory hurdles when you've been selling products in China?
Certainly. Look, I guess in April 2016 there was the really big changes to the cross-border e-commerce model, which heavily affected some of the bigger brands, the supplement brands, the infant formula brands. For us, that was early days, so we didn't really feel the effect of it too much because we didn't have much to compare it to. At the moment, we're looking to go into the offline channel. In the offline channel, you have what's called CRQ registration. So we've found that there are issues in terms of some of our ingredients, things like flaxseed and linseed. So at the moment, we're looking at reformulation of a couple of our products to fit the market. But the regulatory changes there are ever changing, and it's something you always have to be mindful of and have your finger on the pulse.
Now, you've got on-the-ground partners in China. How did you go about finding them, and how do you know you were getting the right partner?
Great question. I think finding the right partner is the biggest challenge. For us, we were lucky. Again, it was back to Australia Week in China. We were introduced to a couple of guys who have a company called the Export Group, who we've been working with since that point in time. And for us, it was about finding people who not only had the experience, not only understood the market, but ultimately people who you get along with, people who you can work with. if you're like myself, you're pretty hands-on, and you speak to these guys every day. So you really need to be able to work with them on a daily basis and really, work to each other's strengths, because it's tough.
Now, how are you actually reaching Chinese consumers? What's the best way to reach out to them from here in Australia?
From here in Australia, I mean, obviously, technology's been a really important part of our business and reaching the consumer. I think one of the best bits of advice, or I guess the biggest learning curve that we've learned over the past 3 to 6 months, is probably the easiest way, or for an SMB, is to actually target the Chinese consumer locally through their networks, through WeChat, through their contacts. They can really help push your brand at a much lower cost and really help sell what the brand's about, because the consumer in China, the first thing that they will do is contact their friends or their family in Australia to find out whether they've seen the brand, have they heard of the brand, have they bought the brand, have they tried it. So really, I guess, targeting the local Chinese community is the best way for us to reach the Chinese consumer.
Final question on behalf of viewers who might be interested in going in the same direction you've done with China. What's the main lesson that you've learned that you can pass on to other businesses watching now?
There's been a lot of lessons, but I think for us, the biggest lesson we've learned is you can't there's probably 3 steps to going into China. I think you first need to make sure you have a really successful brand locally. You then need to make sure that you have a strong presence and a strong brand to the Chinese consumer locally, and then you can push into the China market. You can't go to step 3 without going through steps 1 and 2 first.
Well, very good advice. Jamie Thurin, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
After the break, I'll be talking to HSBC and WWF about their international push to promote the sustainable use of water. Do stay with us.